because that right there, those people, they're not just there just to sign your book. I mean, some of them are, because some of them are schlocky. But if you go up to an author signing and it's somebody that's legitimately passionate about the craft, they'll talk to you. You can sit there and they'll talk to you. And that's how I met a lot of local authors. I met Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl. Oh, yeah. I went downtown to a book signing via the bookstore. I was down there as a representative. But I just started talking with her, and her and I hit it off, and we talked. I mean, we were like in regular correspondence. We've since lost touch since Gone Girl came out, because she went from nobody to like overnight success. But yeah, I mean, but that's what it was, and it wasn't about me asking her for favors. It was me asking her to teach me, like learning at the foot of this author. Yeah. So
that's how you do it. That's how you do anything. When I wanted to go into, the funny thing is I didn't want to go into sales. I just wanted to be successful.
Right.
And for me, I was reading all of these success type books, and then I just thought I'll read sales books to learn how to interview, to learn how to talk to people better, to communicate better. I figure everything in sales, you meet a girl, you're selling yourself. Like you're trying to, and if you meet a lady of the night, she's selling herself to you.
Right.
But, I mean, just everything comes down to sales, really. You know, we're selling the show. Even on some level, we're hoping new people listen. So it's like a sales presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
We hope people just tune through and they're like, wow, those guys are interesting. Let's listen. Let's tell someone else about it. So, and the show's growing from that. So, it just came from for me, it was born in, I want to interview. I want to do very well in interviews. I don't know anything about interviews. I'll read sales book. I was just making that connection.
You're talking about interviews for positions to go and get a job. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
where
but
that's from?
I didn't even know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I was just I just knew I wanted to get out of the machine shop, and I was like, I literally picked up sales books and went I don't want to be in sales. No way. I'm not going to be in sales, but I'm just going to learn sales theories and philosophies and theories, and just that's going to help me to interview better, to get a better job. I don't know what that job's going to be yet, but that's what it's going to do.
Right.
And then, but now I'm in sales, so it's almost like it unfolded. It started out with self-improvement books to psychology type books, and then into sales books, into a sales career, a successful sales career.
Oh wow.
But then when I got into sales and reading about sales, then it was well, I want to talk to the author of this book,
right.
Zig Ziglar.
Yes,
how do I do that? And then that door opened. So it's funny how when you're on certain paths, doors just seem to open.
Yeah.
And especially if you're actively pursuing it. Like you said, you worked in a bookstore. You could have just worked at a bookstore and said, I'd love to be a writer one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the book. What's in other words, what's the next step?
Yeah, exactly.
So the final step could be, I want to work in a bookstore. I'm working at a bookstore. That could be the end all be all. And, But if you want something bigger, what's the next step? And so it's almost like you're always asking yourself, what's that next step?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm asking myself that every day. I love what I do. I'm very successful at what I do. Top guy at what I do. What's the next step, though? Right. I know there's more out there, and there's other things unfolding.
Right, you're not just stopping here. You're I'm the best at what I'm doing. I'm going to stay right here. You're you're going out there and you're I want to be the best at everything. So, and I that's one of the reasons that I was so pumped about being invited to, co-host on the show, is because I have the utmost respect for you, because you never give up. And I think that that's fantastic.
I thank you for that, and keep going. But I do give up, but in a different way. I don't necessarily consider it giving up. Sometimes I just know when something's not working.
Right.
It's time to move on to something else. But a lot of times it's more of it's being the flexible we always talk about.
Yeah.
I know that's not working, so what do I need to change to finally get to my desired goal? Now, sometimes in that journey, I figure out, you know what, I really didn't even want that to be, I didn't really want that. I thought I did, but now this is unfolding into something else.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's keeping your mind open to and trusting into the journey.
Yeah.
And but always actively pursuing it. You can't just sit there on the couch and go, whatever falls out of the sky, I'm here.
Right.
Wow, nothing's falling. You've got to actively be pursuing something.
Oh yeah.
Writing. You're privileged enough. You know how many authors are out there that their books will never be on shelves?
Oh yeah.
They've probably written more than you even, and more than a lot of authors have, possibly. Yeah. There might be authors out there that have written more than Stephen King has.
Yeah.
Their books will never see a shelf.
Yeah.
But that's why you almost got to ask yourself too, what is it that you want? Do you want a book on the shelf? Do you want to be a successful author? We talked about leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
Where do we want this radio show to go?
Absolutely.
We've talked about that. Like this was the success mindset that we talk about as well. Neither one of us, zero broadcasting experience. Yet now we have our own radio show.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. Let's just jump in the pool and see what happens.
Right. Like I said, when you invited me on, I was like, I've always liked the radio.
Yeah.
I've always thought it'd be cool to be on it, but never did it before. So this is fantastic. I mean, every week it's an adventure. So
even if no one's listening, which that might be close to true, I don't know.
Right.
But it is like I feel, and again, even if no one else agrees, I feel I have interesting views on things.
Oh, yeah. Right. That's why I talk to myself in the car. So,
right. My wife is probably rolling her eyes right now as I say that, but I feel I have a good perspective. I do have that. I just don't adhere to excuses. I don't adhere to pushing the responsibility off onto others. Like I can't succeed because I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't like that mindset. I don't listen to that mindset. That's how you're guaranteed not to get anywhere in life.
Yeah. One of my goals, and I'm actually working towards this right now, is to open my own bookstore. I'm trying to, that's my goal way off on the horizon, and I'm hoping it's actually closer than it looks. But I'm constantly working towards that. But I remember a couple years ago, my dad and I were talking, and I was telling him that was my end game, to get that, because he saw how much I love being in the bookstore. And he said, well, why don't you go take this class? Because there was a book selling class. And I was like, it's down in Florida, it's this much money. I got Gus, and I got a penny on the way. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do it right now. I think I got to wait till after, Penny gets, his birth, I guess. It's Penny's birthday, and then I can go after that, and I can do this. And my dad's like, no. He's like, I'm going to stop you right there. He goes, you can make excuses. You can say you're going to wait until after this daughter is born, or when Gus does this or that or the other thing. He's like, but then your excuse is going to be, well, now I got to wait for Gus to start school. Now I got this job, and I got to make sure that Penny starts school, and I'm saving to go take my kids to Disney, and now I got to wait for that. And all of a sudden, pretty soon I'm 60 years old, and I'm saying, oh, I should have done that years ago. So I did. I went and took the class, and that was a couple of years ago, and I've been kind of working towards it ever since. And obviously, like we've talked about before, there's obstacles that come up here and there. Having children is one of the best obstacles ever. But they take a lot of your time, they take a lot of your money, energy, and whatnot. But it's always constantly moving forward, like a shark.
Yeah, and see, you've got, like I was saying too about, you've got that next thing. Like I know I want more out of life. Like I'm not done. You already know. You want to have your own bookstore.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to happen yet. You don't know what, and maybe you do. Maybe you've got some foundations laid out. But what I'm saying is, like, you've got that next thing you're working towards.
Right. Yeah.
Same with me. Same with, I think, a lot of people that have that share that successful mindset mentality.
No, right, exactly. And I think it's funny you said about, when I was working at the bookstore. Obviously I was there, and initially I just took the job because I was like, oh, bookstores are awesome. I spent a lot of time in bookstores. I love to read. And slowly over time, it was almost like the universe was like, no, this is your destiny. And that's what ended up happening. Is as I was there, I was like, oh, if I was to own a bookstore, I would do this and I would do that. And finally it was like, no, I should own a bookstore. So, and I think, sometimes you get into the right path and you just, all of a sudden your eyes open up.
Yeah. It's weird too how, almost exactly what you said. It is weird how that happens where you don't even know that path. Like I said, I never in a million years, dude, if you would have went back in time and said, Scott, you're going to be successful in sales, I would have, you would have been so wrong. Like, I don't even know if I would have laughed. I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Like,
yeah,
you're
right.
nuts.
Who are you? Right.
Right. It just would not have made sense if you knew the guy was back then.
Right.
Like, that would not add up. That guy and this guy here.
Right.
When I look back at that guy back there, I'm like, who? Like, it's not me. It's such a different person. The way I thought, the way I acted, the way you talk about, you really can change yourself.
Oh, yeah.
The people that say, well, he's been like that for years, he's not going to change. Well, if he doesn't want to, yes. But if you do want to change, in anything, if you're not happy and you're not achieving success and your life is miserable, it's your fault, number one. Number two, start making different choices. Start doing different things. It takes a decision, and then it takes action. And that's, I mean, if you wanted to lay it out that simple, make a decision, number one. Number two, start taking action towards it.
Yeah.
That's about as simple as you can get.
Yeah.
And then watch what starts to unfold.
What is that old, the old adage, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step?
Right.
I mean, it's cliche, it's old, whatever, but it's true. It's tried and true. You have to take that first, even if it's a baby step forwards, you have to start that momentum.
You know what? I think where people get lost on that too, when they start to think, but that's 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
And that's so far away. It's so far away. But you'd be surprised. Just start moving. Start walking.
Right.
Okay, using that metaphor, just start walking, and you'll be surprised. Like, you'll look back after a couple days, and you'll be like, "Wow, I've actually, look at how far I've gone in just a couple days."
Oh yeah, yeah.
And now a month later, wow, look at how now you're getting closer. So those types of things, like, don't look at it like, I always talk about fragmenting your goals too. Maybe don't always just look at, like, okay, here's my goal, and it's 10 years away, and that's my goal. What can you do today?
Yeah.
What can you do next week? Like, fragment your goals in a sense, like, maybe make it in daily goals, working towards your goal, weekly goals, monthly goals, and then depending on the size of the goal, of course, but yearly goals. And start fragmenting it in that sense. So what can you do every day? So whatever your goals, make up a goal, have something you want to work towards. And even if it's unbelievable, even if it's just like, there's no way this is going to ever happen. Josh, at one point, may or may not, I don't want to speak for you, but you may have thought, there's no way I'm ever going to have a book on a bookshelf.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I never thought I'd be successful in a sales career.
Yeah.
I am. I never thought. I remember, dude. We're talking success. I'm calling you dude.
Right. What up, bro?
It's almost like I got to put like my different hat on when I come to the show. But like, seriously though, teaching this stuff, you just want to get on the dude level.
I know.
That's where
you're right.
it comes from.
Yeah.
I almost forgot my thought now, but I working in the machine shop, and I would be. There was no hope. Okay, none.
Yeah.
And that's what I adhered to at the time. But I thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to work in an office with a window and a couch in my office and a computer and a desk, and it's my office, and I can look out and I can see like a pond or a lake, and I really thought these things, right?
Right.
And I'd wear a suit to work, and I'd have people coming up to me and asking for my advice and what I'm supposed to do in this situation. And then I would just kind of shake it off and go, yeah, right, keep dreaming.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking like very literally. You know how some people say literally and they don't mean
and they don't know what they're talking about.
Like very literally.
Yeah.
This would happen. So, and I would, but then I'd be like, that'd be great, but there's no way. Like, you're working on a lathe right now in a machine shop. You're covered in grease. There is no way that's going to happen. I now work in an office. My office window faces a pond.
Right.
I have a couch in the office, a computer. Like, don't think how it can't happen. Just think unbelievable goals, and then maybe start backtracking a little bit, and then start paving that way.
Yeah.
I love sharing my story. I love hearing your story. I surround myself with success stories. I read them all the time. Every day I read out of success books. I listen to audio of whether it be interviews or biographies of people that I admire or respect, and I love how they talk about how most of them. Walt Disney's my favorite not character, but historical figure.
Right.
The guy came from nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he created a character, Oswaldo the rabbit, and it was stolen from him, and he's riding on a train with his wife. Nothing. He had nothing, and I think he picked up a piece of paper and he drew this mouse.
Yeah.
And I think he named him Mortimer Mouse on the train. And she said, no, call him Mickey. And I mean, you're going, talk about coming full circle. You're going to Disney World off of him on a train with his wife, getting an idea, Oswaldo the rabbit, stolen from him.
Yeah.
Now Disney World.
And all of a sudden, not just Disney World, he's got Disney World, he's got Disneyland, they own the Star Wars franchise. I mean, Disney owns just about everything.
Yeah.
And that is, again, just about literally, not, I'm not saying figuratively, I'm saying Disney legitimately owns just about everything.
Yeah. So look at stories like that, and just, I'm sure at one point, Walt Disney sat on that train thinking, no way.
Yeah.
But he also, there's another part of him goes, I can do anything. He hired people, he called them Imagineers. and
Yep.
and instead of engineers, and they would just, it wasn't we can't do this. It was how do we do this?
Right.
I know this isn't possible now, but how are we going to be able to do this? How
Yeah.
can we make this happen? That's the kind of thing. Surround yourself with that mentality. Don't think